Thank you for the great feedback on the last video, I really appreciate it. Now, let's take a look at some more common logical fallacies. The Texas sharpshooter fallacy. Imagine a cowboy shooting randomly at a barn and then drawing a target around a cluster of bullet holes, making it seem like he's a skilled marksman. The Texas sharpshooter fallacy occurs when someone focuses on specific data points that supports their argument and ignores the overall context. For example, let's say someone claims to have a lucky charm because they wore it during their successful soccer game, ignoring all the times they wore it without success. They attribute the charm to their victory, creating a false pattern. It's like painting a target around a cluster of past successes while overlooking and ignoring the failures. The slippery slope fallacy. This fallacy happens when it's argued that a particular event will inevitably lead to a chain reaction of negative effects without sufficient evidence to support the claim. Essentially, it involves predicting that one event will lead to a series of undesirable outcomes, creating an exaggerated and often unrealistic scenario. For example, imagine someone argues against implementing a small tax increase for maintaining local parks. This person will say, if we allow this tiny tax, soon they'll tax us for everything. First, they'll tax us for parks, then libraries, and before you know it, we're paying taxes for breathing air. The fallacy here is the lack of evidence or a reasonable connection between a small park tax and an absurd tax on the air we breathe. It exaggerates the consequences without a logical basis. The red herring fallacy. This fallacy occurs when irrelevant information is introduced into an argument to distract or divert attention from the main issue being discussed. Instead of addressing the core point, the argument veers off course with unrelated or misleading details, leading the audience away from the original topic. For example, imagine two friends are debating whether to buy a new car. One friend argues about the fuel efficiency and safety features, while the other responds, well, there are so many starving children in the world and you're worried about a car? In this case, the mention of starving children is a red herring, diverting the conversation from the practical considerations of buying a car to a different, emotionally charged issue. Extra information, a herring is a type of fish that is found in the North Atlantic and other cold waters. The term red herring has its origin in the practice of using smoked herring, which has a strong smell, to divert scent and mislead hunting dogs, and this is why there's a logical fallacy named after it. The false dilemma fallacy. It is also known as the false dichotomy fallacy, and this happens when someone presents a situation as having only two possible outcomes or options, overlooking other potential alternatives. This oversimplification of choices creates a misleading impression that the options presented are the only ones available, when in reality, there could be more nuanced possibilities. Imagine a teacher telling students, "You're either with me or against me in this classroom. If you disagree with my teaching methods, you must want chaos and failure." This false dilemma suggests that the only options are complete agreement or total opposition, ignoring the possibility that students may have constructive suggestions or middle ground perspectives. So basically, things are not always black or white. Begging the question fallacy. This fallacy happens when someone tries to prove something, but their proof assumes that the thing they're trying to prove is already true. It's like going in circles and not giving any real evidence. This is a form of circular reasoning. For example, imagine someone saying, "The new policy is great because it's the best policy ever implemented." Here, it's like saying the policy is amazing because it is amazing, without giving any reasons or evidence. It's like going in circles and not really proving anything. There's something I forgot to add here. The phrase begs the question is often misused in everyday language, and its original meaning in logic differs from its common usage. In popular usage, people often use begs the question to mean that a question is raised or prompts further inquiry. For example, her explanation begs the question, why did she do it? But this is incorrect. The correct usage of begging the question refers to a specific type of fallacy. As explained in my video, it occurs when an argument premises assumes the truth of the conclusion without providing any real evidence. So to use this phrase correctly, consider the fallacy meaning when you say begs the question. But if you mean that a question is prompted, you have to use a phrase like, raises the question, to avoid confusion between the correct and the common usage. Our next fallacy is a very common one, so pay attention: the sunk cost fallacy. With the sunk cost fallacy, the arguer justifies their decision to continue a specific course of action by the amount of time or money they have already spent on it, without caring if they actually like it or not, or whether it's a logical thing to do or not anymore. For example, I'm not enjoying this book that I'm reading, but I paid a lot of money for it, so I have to finish reading it. So be mindful of making decisions based on what you've already invested, money or time or effort, rather than evaluating the situation objectively. If the current or future benefits are not worth it, it might be wise to cut your losses and just stop doing something. The appeal to ignorance fallacy. This fallacy happens when someone argues that a claim is true because there is no evidence against it, or, conversely, that a claim is false because there is no evidence for it. Essentially, it relies on the lack of evidence to support a conclusion. Imagine someone saying, "No one can prove that aliens don't exist, so they must be out there." Here, the lack of evidence against the existence of aliens is used as a basis for concluding that they must exist. However, absence of evidence is not the evidence of presence. This is also known as the burden of proof fallacy. If you claim something, you have to prove it. Just because we don't have an evidence that it exists or not does not make it true. Please leave a like and a comment if you learned something new.